Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the news are views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte hits back at the Marcos admin during the PDP Laban campaign rally last night.
Despite deportation order, thousands of POGO workers are still in the Philippines, according to Bureau of Immigration.
Election watchdog Contradaya exposes issues in the party list system. We will talk about that in a short while.
And tune in as we will check the situation in Dangwa, Manila. Actually, nakatanggap na ako ng flowers, money flower bouquet from Diego.
Napaaga tayo. Former President Rodrigo Duterte criticized President Bongbong Marcos during the proclamation rally of PDP Laban in San Juan.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte endorsed the 9 senatorial candidates under PDP Laban during their proclamation rally in San Juan. He also criticized President Marcos for making what he described as empty promises, particularly on addressing the rising costs of basic goods.
Bukang hindi niya kaya na habulin yung presyo. Yan na lang sa pagkain. Huwag na yung iba. Pwede na natin yung graft and corruption. Nandyan yan eh. Baski anong klaseng administrasyon. Pero yung immediate, urgent need to solve is really itong presyo or the price of rice. Alam mo, pag nasa gobyerno ka, ikaw yung nagdadala, you cannot give promises. Panay na lang ang pangako mo and you keep on, promising people for so many things.
Other PDP Laban senatorial candidates, including Attorney Vic Rodriguez, Representative Rodante Marcoleta, and Attorney J.V. Hinlo, also took turns slamming the Marcos administration.
Ang suka ang kalaban ng tanso. Ang suka ang kalaban ng pekeng ginto. Meron akong diploma at nakapagtapos ako ng abogasya. At higit sa lahat, meron akong certificate na nagpapatunay na ako ay isang ganap na abogado. Kaya ako ay natutuwa kung ito man ang Team Suka. Isa po akong proud member ng Team Suka.
Alam natin kung bakit napakataas ng pangunahing bilihin sa ating bansa. Yung hindi kumakain ng suka, hindi nila alam yun.
Gusto niyo ba na ma-impeach si VP Sara? Gusto niyo bang matanggal si VP Sara? Gusto niyo bang hihina ang PDP sa 2028? Gusto niyo bang labanan ang Rimeng Marcos sa 2028? Ipanalo niyo ang mga senador natin this 2025.
Meanwhile, Vice President Sara Duterte has endorsed several senatorial candidates of PDP Laban through a message sent to the party's proclamation rally. The Vice President emphasized the power of voters to bring about change by choosing the right people to hold the office. The Vice President is in Japan with her half-sister Veronica Duterte. The event also saw Senator Bato de la Rosa responding to Marcos' earlier statement that his senatorial bets had no blood on their hands due to tokhang.
Ang kinakailangan na madumihan ng dugo ng masamang tao ang aking kamay para maprotektahan ang buhay ng mga matitino, mababait at mga law-abiding citizen. Gagawin ko po yan.
The slate also includes Senator Bongo, Raul Lambino, Jimmy Bondoc, Philip Salvador, and Apollo Quiboloy. For News 5, I'm Ria Fernandez. We are One News.
Makabayan and other groups will hold a rally to call on the Senate to act on Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment. Some lawmakers insist that the upper chamber must immediately act on it as stated under the law. Recall that Senate President Chis Escudero said that they can start the trial not earlier than July. The impeachment was approved by House and is now in the Senate, which will convene as impeachment court.
Meron kami hinahandang malaking mass mobilization para madinig ng mga senador yung aming clamor. Gawin na yung kanilang mandato bilang impeachment trial judge at pisahan na yung impeachment trial.
Senatorial candidates from the administration-backed Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas will push for stricter transparency measures with particular focus on the automatic waiver of bank secrecy for all government officials. Former Senator Ping Lacson has pledged to refile his bill that would require all government officials, whether elected or appointed, to waive their rights under the Bank Secrecy Act when they are facing graft investigations. He emphasized that this should apply to all officials, regardless of rank or salary grade. Former Senate President Tito Soto and former Interior Secretary Benhur Abalos voiced their support for the proposal. They also advocated for amendments to the Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth or SALN law to ensure that it's not misused or manipulated.
Ito sa akin, sabi ko nga yung unang-unang panukalang batas na i-refile, hindi ito ipapile. Yun yung ma-exempt yung lahat. Basta pumasok ka sa gobyerno, whether appointive or elective official ka, maski lowest clerk ka, lowest salary grade, hanggang sa pinakamataas, dapat deemed naka-waive yung rights mo under the Bank Secrecy Act. Especially kung merong investigation laban sa'yo, related sa graft and corruption.
Now let's talk more about that and other political issues with Contra Daya convener Prof. Danilo Arao. Hey Prof, thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thank you Angela, Angelo, or Diego. Thank you for the invitation. Kontradayang araw ng mga puso sa inyong lahat, lalo na sa inyong dalawa.
It's so nice to see you back again on TV. Of course, syempre, siguro yung reaction na lang po ninyo, no, as the lead convener of Kontradaya. Dito po muna, dun sa report muna, earlier, yung sa sinusulong po, matagal na sinusulong na batas ni Senator Panfilo Lacson, itong waive, no, ang pag-waive ng bank secrecy ng mga government employees and public officials.
Okay. Yes. Yung waiver naman ng bank secrecy, kinakailangan naman talaga ng transparency sa ating gobyerno. Pero syempre, may konting nuance dun sa usapin ng waiver kasi hindi ito dapat kasama yung mga ordinaryong mga empleyado. Pero for government officials, dapat mas maluwag yung polisiya tungkol dito, lalo na kung ikaw ay akusado ng plunder, graft and corruption, and other related crimes. So this particular legislative intervention by the former senator would have to be strictly reviewed so that we can ensure transparency and not tolerate yung culture of secrecy, especially among the high government officials.
Alright, Prof, I want to talk about also itong recently na nilabas po ninyong statement regarding dito po sa mga na-flag po ninyo na mga party list na supposedly hindi po sila talaga nagre-representa ng marginalized sectors. Paano nyo po ba, ano po yung naging basehan ng inyo pong pag-aaral tungkol doon?
Anin yung basehan ng pag-flag sa 86 or 86 out of 156 party list groups. Technically 155 kasi may isang nag-withdraw noong Disyembre. So unang criterion yung political dynasty, pangalawa yung big business o malaking negosyo, ikatlo yung connection sa pulis at militar, ika-apat po yung mga pending na kaso ng korupsyon, plunder, graft at iba pang related sa misuse and abuse ng government funds. Ikalima po yung kaduda-dudang advokasya o dubious advocacy. At yung panghuli naman ay yung limitado o walang sapat na impormasyon kasi yung galawan ng ilang mga party list hindi talaga nagpapakilala para hindi mabisto. pero minsan may baluarte na sila ng at least 200,000 votes para makakuha ng kahit isang upuan. So this would be the basis for the flagging. So just to be clear, 55.13% yung na-flag namin. So mahigit kalahati po ay hindi kumakatawan sa mga mahihirap po ng ating bayan.
Yeah, Prof, initially kasi yung party list system, no, yung I remember back nung mga 88, 92 nung pinag-uusapan na ito. Initially, the meat of it or the goal of it was syempre to provide an adequate voice for those who are marginalized. But syempre, yung nangyari po sa Supreme Court, hindi po nakatulong sa cause natin lahat because now, instead of the marginalized being represented, it's just an extension of the big political parties or existing dynasties. Now, what can we do habang wala pa po yung batas na kailangan natin para maayos itong sistema? In the meantime, para at least man lang to give fairness to other candidates who are really naman sa party list, who are really want to represent the marginalized.
So, syempre, immediately, dito sa election cycle na to, sa 2025, we can only go to the extent of encouraging voters to choose wisely based on reliable information. So that would explain for the data set that we made publicly available that anybody can freely download, whether you're part of the media or you're just an ordinary concerned citizen. Or any other organizations would be free to further popularize the data set, given that, for example, me as a 57-year-old, I don't speak the language of today's generation. So we encourage the youth to freely popularize it much better than I do. But in the medium term, Diego, the legislative intervention is absolutely necessary. There are pending bills already on reforming the party list law. Many of them are quite good and make better sense than the 1995 law. But of course, in the medium term, it's also crucial for the COMELEC to step up to exercise and maximize its quasi-judicial function in such a way that they can carefully screen everything. Siyempre, commendable din naman yung ginawa ng COMELEC ngayong election cycle na they rejected 200 applications. Kaya lang, I just want to be clear that some of those rejected are actually complaining because they come from the marginalized and underrepresented. Kasama sila sa mga na-reject din. So, due diligence on the part of COMELEC is also necessary. Kung pumalpak sila sa pagpili sa senatorial, sa mga senatorial aspirant, kaya nga nag-recept tayo, ilang beses tayong nag-recept ng printing para lang ma-accommodate yung mga reversal ng Supreme Court. Ganon din yung nangyayari sa party list selection. So, they should shape up and exercise due diligence.
At least, Prof, mabigyan ng equality amongst those who really want to serve. Now, I'm also, Prof, I'd like to pick your brain on this kasi I took a look at yung mga surveys recently and I've seen candidates. Kasi alam mo, Prof, for a while, in the last 6-7 years, for a while, medyo bumabalik na tayo sa mga qualified candidates sana eh. Pero parang sa survey ngayon, nakikita ko, we're veering back towards yung mga sikat. What do you think is happening, Prof? Bakit bumabalik tayo sa personality base? Is it this generation that has access to social media at sila ang nakikita?
Okay, that's a good point. For Contradaya, we don't blame the voters or in this case, the respondents in the surveys that you cited. This has more to do with the visibility brought about by vast amounts of financial resources as well as technological and technical resources at their disposal. So, Angelo and Angela, it's still money politics that come into play. We are reminded of the 1965 coinage called guns, guns, and gold, o yung 3Gs. Despite the high level of technology that we have right now, despite generative AI and all that, it's still the old-fashioned way of having the money and having the power and influence that you would not want to let go of. And that would be the defining factors for your continued good performance in the surveys. So yung pagiging celebrity, it's just one of the many factors. Kasi alam mo, Angela, through the years, may mga celebrity naman na sikat, pero wala silang sapat na financial na rekurso. So natatalo pa rin sila. So it all boils down to how well connected you are. to the powers that be, lalo na yung tinatawag nating malapit sa kusina. So that would also partly explain the mixed performance of bloggers, influencers, content creators who are trying their luck to run for public office. Yung iba, maganda yung performance so far sa mga survey, whether local or national, pero yung iba, naglalag behind rin, and some of them are even forced to withdraw kasi nga wala talaga silang pera or limitado yung kanilang resources.
But Prof, a lot of people are saying to be able to beat this tradition, itong pera talaga ang mukha ng politiko, ng politika rather, ay educate yung ating mga voters. But how many years have we been talking about this also na let's educate voters, but how? How can we tap the grassroots, diba? Ito, para magkaroon talaga ng connection, yung educating the voters natin at malaman talaga nila ano ba yung dapat na gawin.
Okay, there is good voter education and there is effective voter education. How do we distinguish between the two? Ang voter education that's supposed to be good should provide basic information, especially what to do on election day. Kumbaga maganda yung mga impormasyong yon, pero to be effective, you need to have a sharp analysis of not just the election system but also the political system. We cannot help but discuss the reality of political dynasty, big businesses, as well as even disinformation coming into play as being decisive in the winning and losing of certain candidates. At saka kahit yung something as basic as the right of suffrage has become a right of to suffer, quote-unquote, among people, because it's not as if all of us have the free will to choose our preferred candidates. So that's why we have to check each other's privileges as well, lalo na sa mga probinsya, sa mga remote rural area, kontrolado lalo na ng mga negosyo at ng mga dynasty. May paraan para makita at matunton, matrace kung sino ang bumoto sa kanila o hindi. And sometimes they have to vote out of coercion, out of fear and intimidation. Kaya nga yung iba, yung nagiging mindset, sige, pikit mata ko na lang tatanggapin yung binibigay at iboboto ko na lang kesa naman sa mapahamak ko. So, kumbaga, we should not be judgmental to people who are forced in a situation of, well, for lack of a better term, force majeure. So, kumbaga, mahirap talaga yung nagiging buhay at kabuhayan ng mahihirap kasi sa interes ng mga political dynasty at malalaking negosyo na manatili silang mahirap para yung culture of dependence, culture of mendicancy, or even culture of impunity will be normalized in many areas of the country.
Prof, I wanna go back dun sa party list system yung na-flag po ninyo no, during po doon sa inyong recent statement. Yung sinabi niyo po isa sa mga basihan ay no specific details on their nature of their work. Ano po bang specific na details yung dapat na nilalagay po ng mga nominees under a party list system?
When you fill out your CONA in terms of occupation, you can put their businessman, but the more ideal would be to provide details. What kind of business do you have? What's your position? What is the corporation of which to which you are connected? Those are information that should be made public. Sa totoo lang, Angela and Angelo, we're not concerned about home addresses or contact numbers. Hindi naman tayo ng dodoks at hindi naman tayo stalkers. But the publicly available information related to elections would be the nature of your work because that would be the basis for ascertaining your track record. Kaya nga yung isa sa mga frustration din ng researchers namin sa Contradaya, at first, we were happy that finally, after so many years, yung mga CONA or your certificates of nomination and acceptance of the party list nominees, there are 10 of them per party list group, finally, publicly available na. Pero nung dinownload namin, tapos inisa-isa namin yon, talagang ang daming kaso na masyadong maramot sa impormasyon yung mga party list nominee. Siguro talagang may tinatago po talaga sila. So that's why we're able to flag 9 party list groups na talagang hindi sapat yung impormasyon. No matter how hard we tried, they don't have social media presence, they don't have websites, kahit yung address nila mahirap hanapin. So kumbaga pangalan ng party list yung nandoon, and then the names of the 10 party list nominees, which is ironic, please bear with me, kasi kung ikaw kumakandidato ka, you will take pains to introduce yourself to the public. But there are those that opt not to because they have the bailiwick votes already. Apparently, that's one way of reasoning. So they only need to maintain 200,000 or so votes so that they can get at least one seat.
Alam mo, Prof, I'd like to ask your opinion on this, no? Kasi I'm reviewing the history of party lists around the world. The party list system was developed very similar kasi nanggagaling sa isang union sa states, the unions, the Teamsters ang tinatawag. And traditionally, if you look at the Teamsters or the unions, yung mga pinuno nila comes from within the organization. Now, ang tanong ko sa party list, for example, ako, I own a corporation that owns several security guard agencies. Tapos tatayo ako party list, ang pangalan ng security, ang party list ko, ang security guard. Pero hindi ako security guard, tas first nominee ako. Ano opinion mo dyan? Should that person be allowed to be a nominee?
No, he or she should not be allowed for the simple reason that you're representing a sector. Of course, you can be a you can always argue that I'm the CEO of the security agency, therefore I know what they're going through. Pero which would be a better choice? Yung security guard mismo na kumikita, let's say, ng minimum wage, kung kumikita man siya ng ganun kalaki, or siya ba ay regular o contractual, tapos alam niya yung araw-araw niyang pinagdaraanan. Kasi kung ikaw naging CEO ka or presidente ng isang security agency or recruitment agency, most likely your social status will be different from that of your people or the security guard. So, kumbaga ngayon, don't get me wrong, Angelo and Angela, technically these are legal, no thanks to the 2013 Supreme Court decision that you cited a while ago. Yeah, pero that doesn't make it right. And it doesn't make sense. Para mo na rin sinabi na okay lang na yung may-ari ng mga kumpanya ang magtaguyod ng interes ng mga manggagawa. But we all know the experience during collective bargaining agreement, they're usually on opposite sides of the fence.
Right.
So how can that happen? It doesn't make sense.
Prof, panghuli na lang kasi unfortunately we don't have much time, but hopefully we can have you again on our show. Are you confident of or with the COMELEC's handling of the election campaign or election preparations rather, especially nabalot po ng iba't ibang issue, no, yung preparations na ito, including yung sa mga yung Meru system?
No, we're not very satisfied, and we've been critical since day one as regards the awarding of the contract with Meru. Thanks for bringing it up, by the way. And this could explain why St. Timothy, which has a joint venture with Meru, yung party list system, yung party list nila na Pinoy Ako, of which the second nominee is from St. Timothy, talagang flinag din namin yan, and we made public certain, information about the nominee, Diskaya, di ba? Kasi hindi lang yung taga-Pasig yung dapat nating pinagtutuunan ng pansin na tumatakbong mayor ngayon. But anyway, Angela, the COMELEC has a lot of explaining to do. And we also criticize its tokenism of transparency. Masyadong tokenistic Nag-upload ka nga ng CONA, pero yung pag-check sa the way the party list nominees filled out the information, parang hindi rin kompleto. So kung naging transparent ka sana, lubos-lubusin mo na, and you encourage the party list nominees and the party list groups to provide adequate information to the public. Hindi yung papahirapan mo pa yung mga researchers tulad namin na kami pa yung maghahagilap nito. We should, just for the record, Angelo, we shouldn't be doing this if the government, particularly COMELEC, has been transparent in the first place. Sana dumating ang panahon, di na namin kailangan gumawa ng dataset na more than 1,500 nominees yung sinuri namin kung nandiyan na sana yung datos.
Alright, on that note, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Contradaya Convener, Professor Danilo Arao. Thank you and happy Valentine's Day.
Contradayang araw ng mga puso sa inyo.
Coming up, Senator Raffy Tulfo expressed alarm over the number of foreign POGO workers still in the Philippines. Ilan pa nga bang POGO workers ang nasa bansa?
We'll check in on the situation over at Manila's flower capital, Dangwa, on Valentine's Day. Magkano na kaya ang mga bulaklak?
Ako mahal na mga bulaklak.
For sure. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Now, following the blanket ban on pogos, the government has yet to deport all illegal workers. Here's a report.
Senator Raffy Tulfo sounded the alarm over the sheer number of pogo workers that are still in the country. During the Senate hearing with the Committee on Games and Amusement, it was revealed that out of 30,144 foreign pogo workers, only about 10% or 3,024 have been deported. President Marcos had ordered the ban on pogos last year, giving them until December 31, 2024 to wrap up operations.
Kine-question ko yung bagal ng sistema di ba? Gusto ko mabilisan. Para hindi tayo pagdudahan. Kasi pag nagdidili-dali kayo, nagbabagal-bagalan kayo, pagdududahan kayo.
Yes, sir.
Kalahati pa lang nadideport. January 8 pa, baka nag-aantay na ng pang-areglo.
The Bureau of Immigration clarified that more than 22,000 foreign pogo workers have already been deported as of 2024 year-end. The BI cited delays in processing were due to completion of the required documents such as passport, NBI clearance, and plane tickets.
Ang challenge ho namin is yung passport. Yung mga nahuli ho kasi, wala yung passport. So we have requested from the embassy for their travel documents.
Tulfo gave the BI a 2-week deadline to deport all remaining pogo workers.
Kung gusto, maraming paraan. Kung ayaw, maraming dahilan. 2 weeks. Kasi kapag hindi mo pa deporto in 2 weeks, then magdududa, magtataasan tayo lahat ng kila dito, baka merong iniintay. Baka later on, papatakasin to. Baka may mga gustong umarbor, baka mayroong mga gustong kumakausap, kaya dinidelay ang deportation. So dapat, all 400, magkano ka mo? 30? Ilang ka mo? 434.
438, Mr.
438. I want that accounted for by the end of this month, February, na lahat sila deported na. Please.
We will comply, Mr. Chair.
Ito yung sinasabi ng mga ibang tao na bago kayo mag-blanket ban on pogos, lahat ng pogo nila, both legal and illegal, no? Magkaroon muna ng sistema, what will happen, anong process in deporting all of these people here. Kasi kung hindi, magkakalat yan dito sa loob. And of course, are you ready for the systems in place? Paano yung mga Pinoy na nangyayari? Guerrilla pogo ngayon.
Oo, yung maliliit.
Para kasi if you're banning something, you have to have a system in place to make sure na hindi lalala. It's just like cancer, di ba? Tatanggalin mo isang cancer, pipigilan mo mag-metastasize sa ibang katawan. Ito hindi, kumalat na
Kumalat kasi nga, di ba, we have reports na may mga maliliit na mga pogo sa
mga unit, guerrilla unit, guerrilla hub.
Sa mga condo units, sa mga subdivisions na nag-ooperate.
Minsan nga, sa resort pa
Oo, di ba, yung sa Cavite ba yun, if I'm not mistaken? Oo, sa resort, nagulat na lang sila na ang daming mga computers yung pinasok doon.
Nag-check-in lang sa group, sabi nila, team building, yun pala.
Nagpo-pogo na pala.
Nagpo-pogo na sila. May dala daw mga mini router. Mga pocket wifi.
At saka na sila yung prepaid, yung mga wifi prepaid nila na. Para mas madali.
Hindi matrace
Hindi matitrace. Kapag postpaid kasi may information, 'di ba, na kailangan na itago pa.
Correct.
Pero yun nga, yung sa deportation issues naman, marami rin kasi mahaba din kasi yung 'di ba, na-explain sa akin before ng Bureau of Immigration.
Mahabang process to.
Mahabang proseso, tapos nagkakaproblema pa sila kasi itong ibang mga supposedly illegal pogos, foreign workers, ay mga nagkaroon na rin ng pamilya dito sa bansa, 'di ba? Yung mga pamilya nila, tapos yung they house them sa isang parang sa office ng Bureau of Immigration. At ang laki na lang nagagastos ng pakain nila, etc. Kaya dapat talaga, 'di ba? Maayos ito dahil pera din ang bayan yung nagagastos dyan.
Parang kasi sa US, 'di ba, yung deportation mass deportation program ni President Donald Trump, before they implemented that program, they already had a list of possible targets and areas. May mga names na sila actually na priority. Kung makasagap sila ng ibang mga illegals in the meantime, idadamay nila sa deportation. But may list na sila. Dito kasi inaamin rin naman ng ibang agencies natin. Medyo mahirap. It's because understaffed ang mga agencies like yung PAOK. Kulang na kulang sila sa tao to be able to implement this bago i-turn over sa Bureau of Immigration, di ba? Nagkakaproblema tayo dyan.
Saka syempre, we have to look at the illegal, yung mga human rights violations na activities na ginagawa under POGO operation, di ba? So, yun yung mga iba pa natin dapat tignan. Right.
Bilang Pilipino, bilang Pilipino.
The Commission on Elections said at least 5 senatorial candidates have been consistently violating rules on the campaign poster. COMELEC Chairman George Garcia declined to disclose the name of the candidates but emphasized that the poll body will issue notices for the removal of the materials. The candidates will be given 3 days to comply. If the candidates fail to remove the posters within the given time frame, the COMELEC will recommend filing of election offense charges and a disqualification complaint.
Sino kaya yan?
Ayan na. So sige, kung ako kaaway, iwa-post ko na yung kalaban ko.
Oo, sino kaya yan? Kasi simple lang naman ang rules ng ng COMELEC, 'di ba? Posters or standees dapat 2 by 3 feet. Pag streamers 3 by 8 feet, yan. Tapos, yung mga pag-pamphlets or leaflets yung ibibigay mo, long bond paper yung size nun. At only in common poster areas. Bawal yung mga government areas, yung public places, government vehicles, bawal schools, bawal yan.
Pwede ba, di ba sabi na ni Chairman George yan, pasok na yung mga reason kalabang ko naglagay niyan. Sabi ni Chairman George, the presumption is sa'yo yan kasi number 1, bakit ka gagastos sa isang poster na hindi sa'yo? Na poster ng kalaban mo, kaya mahal-mahal ang malaking poster yan. Kasi ipopost mo, sumikat pa yung kalaban mo. Kasi kahit naman magka-violation ka, pag sumikat yung kalaban mo, ikaw gumastos. So, ang presumption is, sa'yo yan. At saka, if it's not yours, but mukha mo, di tanggalin mo na.
Tanggalin mo na. That's why sinasabi rin ng COMELEC, diba, na they are giving 3 days.
3 days to
diba,
comply.
doon sa kandidato na yun para tanggalin, 'di ba? At mag-explain bakit nandiyan diyan, hindi sumunod yung doon sa rules ng COMELEC.
Ilang dekada natin pinag-uusapan 'to, yung hanggang ngayon pa-post pa rin ang poster.
So, mamaya balikan natin
natin yan because we were talking about the POGO issue a while ago and now we have with us PAOK spokesperson Winston Casio on the line. Good morning, Spokes. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Angelo and Angela.
Yes, Spokes, hingi kami ng update, no, yung especially yung sa mga small scale POGO operators, yung mga tinatawag na mga guerrilla operators. Ano na po ang balita sa kanila?
Well, tuloy-tuloy naman po ang ating pag-operate laban sa kanila. In fact, kagabi, may na-rescue kaming at around 8 p.m. We were able to rescue 34 Indonesian nationals and effect the arrest of 2 Chinese bosses that are still related to POGOs. No? So, nandito na sila ngayon. They will be subjected to a immigration biometric evaluation para ma-check yung kanilang immigration status sa Pilipinas. Tuloy-tuloy lang tayo kasi medyo marami pa po silang mga guerrilla operations na nagkalat sa buong Pilipinas.
Mga ilan po kaya sa estimate po ninyo, sir?
To be honest, no, there could still be, kasi yung mayroong discrepancy pa doon sa number of foreign nationals that are POGO-related that have left the Philippines and those that are supposed to have been issued the so-called offshore gaming employee license. Siguro may mga a few thousands pa nandito sa Pilipinas.
Yes, Spokes, you mentioned kasi na yung mga na-rescue ng mga Indonesian. Most of these ba, kaya po rescue ang tag natin sa kanila ay most of them are working against their will?
Actually, yeah, they are being labor trafficked.
Okay.
They sent a distress signal to PAOK yesterday, late in the afternoon. Natanggap po yung distress signal mga around 4 p.m. So, then sinundan po verify po namin na totoo po yung panawagan nila ng tulong, and then we contacted the Indonesian embassy. Apparently pala, yung kanilang mga passports are being kept from them.
Okay.
Kasi pinipilit sila na lumipat from the Philippines to Cambodia. At doon sa Cambodia na magtrabaho kasi may mga offshore gaming operations din po sa Cambodia.
So, kumbaga, Spokes, itatransport sila. Oo.
Yes, they are to be trafficked to Cambodia. So this is a case of human trafficking.
Spokes, kamusta naman yung kalagayan nila? I mean, were they physically harmed in any way?
Thankfully, itong ating mga kaibigan na na-rescue, yung 34, they were not physically harmed.
Okay.
In fact, they had freedom of movement. So they were able to come in and out of the building. Ang hindi lang talaga binigay sa kanila yung passport. So they were being kept from returning home to Indonesia.
Spokes, during po the Senate hearing, around 438 illegal POGO workers pa daw po yung hindi na de-deport po sa atin. Ano po yun? Nakanino po silang custody, itong mga illegal POGOs na ito? Or meron pa rin po ba tayong nababalitaan na nagtatago pa rin until now?
Yung 400 plus, yan po yung consolidated na number coming from the Rai Ranch Tower operation ng Bureau of Immigration at saka ng National Bureau of Investigation. Yan po yung nandun pa sa kanila, 300 plus. Then meron din po sa aming natitira pa awaiting deportation na more than 200. No? So roughly nasa 500 pa po itong mga POGO workers na awaiting deportation. But yan yung mga nasa custody na po ng gobyerno natin. Pero there are still a few thousand that are still out there. They're all over the country. So yun ang tinutugunan ng PAOK kasi kami ang chairperson ng Technical Working Group on Anti-Offshore Operations and Anti-Scam Centers. So we're doing our very best. In fact, kagabi, nagtuloy-tuloy yung operation namin hanggang kanina.
Doon po sa mga illegal foreign workers po na nasa kustudiya po ng ating gobyerno, ano po ba yung nagiging problema? Bakit hindi pa daw po sila napapadeport as of now?
May mga criminal records pa po sila na inaayos natin.
And Spokes, of course, yung pinag-usapan natin kanina, yung mga small-scale operators, no? I think we talked about this before, pero gusto ko lang i-confirm itong small-scale operators, meron po silang mga nagpapatakbo po. Are these foreigners or may liaison officers sila dito na Pilipino?
These are all foreigners. The bosses are foreigners, but the employees are Filipinos.
Opo. Go ahead.
The employees are, a good number of the employees are Filipinos na, but a good number of foreigners are still here. No? So it's a mix of Filipinos and foreigners na po.
Okay.
Meron po ba tayong timeline doon po sa iba pang mga illegal foreign workers na sabi nyo nga po nagkalat pa more than 1,000?
They should have left the Philippines already last December, but given the immensity, the enormity of the problem, we gave ourselves until September to rid the country of these foreign nationals.
Yung usapin po na meron din pong mga Pilipino na nagpipick up ng mga operations na yan sa atin, kamusta po yun?
Yes. Kami din po naman ay sinusundan namin yung mga Filipinos and we're doing our best na masawata din itong mga Filipinos that have taken over the illegal POGOs, no?
So far po yung mga tinatawag po nating big fish, no, na mga operator po ng POGO dito sa Pilipinas. Can you give us an update regarding that po?
Well, we have a good number of them that are on the run. Nakasuhan na po natin. We're waiting for the release of arrest warrants for example, Mr. Duan Renwu, for Mr. Zhang Jie, and for Mr. Wang Ziyang. Once we have the warrants, we will apply for a red notice with the Interpol so that para mahabol din po sila ng international police kung kahit sa foreign jurisdictions nandun sila. Guys, is it okay? I cut this short kasi may press briefing tayo ngayon doon sa na-rescue natin kanina na mga Indonesian.
Alright.
Thank you very much, PAOK spokesperson Winston Casio.
Thank you, sir. And Angela. Thank you very much. It was nice talking to you again.
Yes.
Ayun. So, si PAOK spokesperson going to have a press briefing about yung mga the word he used and clarify niya was rescued because these people were detained, the Indonesians were detained against their will and kinuha daw ang passport.
Yeah. So, isa lang po yan dahil di pa tapos yung laban natin against illegal POGOs. And I would also like to ask sana kay spokesperson Winston Casio kung may nakikita pa rin ba silang mga link 'Diba, kay Alice Go or other Filipino personalities here in the Philippines yung sa mga nag-ooperate ng Pogo, pero unfortunately wala.
Pero lahat ng discussion natin, he has said, at although may mga operators dito, most of them are linked to one big fish that is not in the country.
Not here pala.
Not here.
Alright, in other news, authorities arrested a gubernatorial candidate in Guimaras Province. The suspect allegedly name-dropped First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos to defraud individuals seeking government approval and contracts. She was identified as Margarita Cacho of Barangay Sabang, Sibunag, Guimaras. Cacho is seeking the gubernatorial post against Lucille Nava, the incumbent Lone District representative of Guimaras.
Don't go away, we're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
Okay, go ahead.
Sino ba? Ako, okay. The Philippine Coast Guard continues to drive away Chinese Coast Guard vessels in the West Philippine Sea.
Vessel 3103. This is Philippine Coast Guard vessel BRP Cabra MRV 4409. You are advised that you are currently sailing within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone.
PCG said its BRP Cabra patrol ship was able to push away CCG 3304 away from Pangasinan. However, another CCG vessel arrived in the vicinity and is now heading towards the Bajo de Masinloc area. BRP Cabra also issued a radio challenge and vowed to continue driving away all illegal foreign vessels.
Well, according naman kay PCG spokesperson in the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, importante na nagkakaroon sila lagi ng mga radio challenge kapag may mga nakikita sila na mga Chinese Coast Guard within our exclusive economic zone.
There was an improvement actually sa radio challenge with regards to the monster ship kasi parang umatras ng bahagya ang monster ship nung sunod-sunod ang radio challenge. Tapos nung nakita nila yung patrol natin via air, yun medyong naano sila doon. Hindi naman natakot pero
plus it's good that it's always on the record. Na okay, on this particular date and time, 'di ba, may pumunta, may umalis, etc.
At saka alam ng Chinese counterparts natin na we are taking care, we are able to patrol and control our area kahit papaano.
We can establish our presence in our exclusive economic zones. Kasi nga ang hirap naman din na alam naman natin the reason why they're doing this is talagang to posturize talaga na okay, nandito kami, 'di ba? Diyan sa area ng
posturing lang naman.
Posturing, oo. All right, in other news, average daily HIV cases in the country climbs to 50 from just 13 in 2013. The Philippine National AIDS Council said younger patients are among the new cases. The group attributed this to social media where dating and sexual encounters are made more accessible. They remind the public to practice safe sex, including the use of condoms, to avoid HIV and other infections. HIV, although incurable, can be managed through available medications. Once the patient becomes undetectable, that person can no longer transmit the virus.
Now let's check in on the situation at Dangwa in Manila. We have with us mobile journalist Amy Atienza for the updates. Amy, hello. Thank you for joining us. Marami na bang bumibili ng mga flowers dyan? Mahal ba?
Good morning, Angela and Virgo. Happy Valentine's Day. Pero so far, makikita niyo naman sa likuran ko, medyo marami-rami pa rin yung tao dito sa may Dangwa area. Nandito nga tayo sa may Dimasalang Street at kung titingnan din naman natin yung traffic, hindi pa naman gano'n ka-traffic. And yun nga, so far, yung mga presyo ng mga bulaklak dito medyo nagtaas na compared sa kagabi kung saan around 50 pesos to 200 pesos nga daw yung naging price hike for today. So meron dyan yung pinakamabenta yung roses na nasa 1,000 pesos per dozen. Meron din 100 pesos per stem pala, sorry. Tapos carnation 1,000 pesos per dozen. Gerbera 250 pesos per bundle. Chamomile 180 pesos per bundle. Stargazer naman, 220 pesos to 250 pesos per stem. At yung sunflower, nag-range siya from 150 pesos to to 500 pesos depende sa laki. And yun nga, so far, napakarami pa rin ng tao, pero abangan natin mamaya kung dadami pa. Pero marami na rin na mga nagbebenta dito, nagsabi na simula pa nga lang daw kagabi ay talagang dagsa na ang tao dito sa Dangwa. Angela, Diego.
Pero Amy, kamusta na ba yung supply dyan? Kasi di ba kaugalian ng mga flower shops around the metro na bibili ng maramihan dyan sa Dangwa, tapos kung ano yung price sa Dangwa, titriplehin pa nila.
Yes, actually, ganun nga daw yung nangyayari. Pero so far, yung supply naman, okay naman. Hindi pa naman daw naubos kasi everyday naman daw sila dito may bagsakan. So, yung iba naipon na lang din from the past week. Pero yun nga, yung mga mambibenta dito, hindi pa naman daw nauubusan at welcome pa rin daw naman sila sa mga mamimili pa for today. And actually, prepared naman daw sila kasi every year naman talaga ganito yung mga nagiging situation dito sa Dangwa. So, marami talaga ang bumibili. Pero yung nakikita rin natin dito, actually, Diego, marami yung mga estudyante na umiikot at meron dito, marami yung mga magtotropa. Talaga, nasama-sama bumibili at nagbibigayan para sa isa't isa.
Ano ba yung mga mabebenta ulit dyan ng mga bulaklak ngayon?
Actually, roses daw yung best seller talaga dito. Kahapon daw, nasa around 80 pesos pa sa per stem, pero ngayon 100 pesos per stem na. And yun nga, sunflower din. Yung mga malalaking sunflower, around 500 pesos, pero okay na rin daw. And usually yung nagiging sistema nila dito, Angela, sila na yung nagko-customize ng mga bouquets na meron sila. Kasi yung mga bouquets naman na pre-made na, it's around 800 pesos to 2,500 pesos, so medyo mahal. So ayun yung ginagawa nila, nagko-custom made na lang sila, bibili sila ng mga bundle, sila na yung mag-aayos. Pero in case naman daw na medyo kinakabahan pa at hindi pa sure sa arrangements, meron din naman silang labor dito for flower arrangements na nagkakalaga ng 250 pesos to 300 pesos.
Ay, minahal ng flower, ha? Laki ng minahal. Alam ba mga uso dyan ngayon, Amy, aside from roses? Kasi hindi lang naman roses, Alam ko, may nang-trend na iba-ibang klaseng flowers or ano, di ba, arrangements? Ano ba yung mga, ano dyan, sikat?
Yes, actually, dito sa tabi ko, ito yung mga maliliit na bulaklak dito. Ito yung mga trend ngayon. And meron sila yung ngayon yung ginagawa, usually na mga students na nakausap ko kanina, isang malaking sunflower, tapos meron sila nung maliliit na parang chamomile daw. So yun yung ginagamit talaga nila para nakapalibot, tapos may isang main flower. Tapos medyo uso din dito ngayon, yung may dala na silang chocolate na Ferrero, so, or kung anong sweets, tapos isama nila dun sa bouquet. So yun yung mga nauuso. And aside from that, meron din kasi dito yung mga artificial na mga bulaklak. So yung mga gano'n naman, around 30 to 50 pesos lang. Pero yun nga, hindi pa masyadong mabenta. Pero medyo nauuso na rin kasi kung babalikan natin yung before, wala pa naman masyado.
Amy, no, kasi ang ano natin ngayon, sabi nila yung sibuyas, 250 per kilo na. Ang bigas, ang taas din ng per kilo. Pero dahil nga Valentine's Day ngayon, marami rin bang bumibili ngayon dyan sa Dangwa? Nakausap mo ba yung mga vendors dyan? Kamusta yung bentahan nila?
Actually, okay naman daw. Pero kung compared last year, medyo mas konti. Pero aabangan daw naman nila ito hanggang mamayang gabi. So, ayun yung nagiging parang system ngayon dito. Medyo konti pa yung benta compared last year. Pero tuloy-tuloy pa rin naman daw yung daloy ng tao dito. At yun nga, medyo parang napapansin nga daw nila ang trend dito. Magsatropa na lang daw talaga yung bumibili ng mga bulaklak. Hindi na mga magjojowa. Pero marami pa rin naman dito yung mga bumibili ng bulaklak. So,
parang
ayun,
ano
okay
daw
naman.
yan ano ba yan? I can buy myself flowers, ganon. Tsaka Valentine's Day, yun. Mga nakita natin mga group of girls dyan, bumibili ng sarili nila.
Ipera mo na lang o i-chocolate mo na lang.
Pero kasi di ba kapag gabi na, medyo nagbabagsak presyo sila. Ginagawa pa rin ba nila ngayon yan?
Yes, actually, abangan din natin kasi kung maalala din naman natin, if i-relate din natin sa prices sa market, yung mga pangsahog before nung New Year, medyo bumaba din yung presyo pagdating ng hapon hanggang gabi. So, ganun din naman yung mangyayari dito sa Dangwa. So, ini-expect natin na babagsak yung presyo or babalik sa normal price yung mga bulaklak na binibenta nila dito.
O dun sa mga nagtitipid, mamaya-mayang gabi na kayo bumili. Pero yan, hanggang oras ba? Open ang Dangwa?
Actually, 24 hours naman sila ngayon. So, simula kahapon. So, simula kahapon naman, hanggang ngayon, tuloy-tuloy yung pagbebenta nila. Walang tigil. Dahil nga, meron din dito mga deliveries din na parang umu-order na lang sila online. Tapos, kukunin na lang ng rider dito and i-deliver sa kanila para maiwasan din naman yung daloy ng tao dito sa Dangwa.
Alright, maraming salamat. That was our mobile journalist, Amy Atienza.
Uy, pero konting warning lang kasi may nag-viral sa Facebook, a couple from Quezon City, ang guy, gusto niya i-impress yung asawa niya. Magbasa-basa kayo pag nag-order kayo online. May in-order siyang flowers worth about 6,000-7,000. Tapos padala siya ng picture, dineliver sa workplace. Sabi niya, pusang gala, sira ang Valentine's ko.
Bakit?
Hindi niya binasa. Yung florist na kinontrata niya sa funeraria.
Oh my
So
God.
pinadala nila yung mga pinapadala sa patay.
Corona.
Dinala sa call center ko sa nagtatrabaho yung girl. Happy Valentine's Love, nandun yung litrato sa loob, yung corona ng patay, pinadala.
Seryoso yan?
Seryoso, nag-viral siya, sabi, wala na daw siyang Valentine. Parang, bakit yun daw ang pinadala? Sabi, hindi niya binasa kasi maliit ang typo nila doon. Ay, nako naman. Kaya mag-ingat kayo.
Ingat kayo dyan, ha? Pero hindi, balikan ko lang yung campaign rules natin kanina, di ba? Na pag-usapan natin yung laki ng mga poster at saka saan dapat nilalagay, saan yung mga hindi dapat nilalagay. Meron din kasi nilabas ang COMELEC na laws or guidelines sila on campaign jingles, 'di ba? Kasi sikat ang mga kumakandidato dahil dun sa mga campaign jingles nila.
Nakakala ko, napaka-serious lang, pero nakakatawa.
Hindi, ito. Nakakatawa kasi. Hindi naman nakakatawa. Pero ito, importante, dapat sumunod sa copyright laws. No? So, kumuha ng mga lisensya kung gagamit kayo ng mga may-ari na nung kanta. So, importante yun. Lalo na kung ito ay ipaparinig natin sa public places. Tapos, bawal na yung mga malalaswa o yung double meaning na lyrics. Kasi may mga sumikat before.
If you remember yung barangay captain na tumakbo, si Jose Pepe Pacheco. Yung jingle niya sumikat using a copyrighted song before. Very viral. Kaso natalo siya. Natalo siya. Si Jose Pepe Pacheco. Kaya i-google nyo yung story niya. Maganda yung story niya. Sikat na sikat pero wala, hindi pinagpala din na.
Uy, thank you muna sa Budas Belly. Of course, hindi mawawala ang ating Friday
favorite ko yan, yung hakaw. Tsaka yung, shrimp. And of course, may fried rice tayo dyan. Lalamon tayo after this.
Valentine's date namin. With the rest of our news and views.
Bubusugin ko ngayon si Angel para baka mamayang gabi, konti na lang ang kakainin. Maliit na lang ang bill. Alright, before we wrap up today, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote that hopefully will get your day right. All you need is love, but a little chocolate now and then doesn't hurt. A quote from Charles Schulz. Kilala mo ba si Charles Schulz?
Sino ba si Charles?
Writer ng...
Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown. Yeah.
Ayun.
Kaya nga 'di ba sabi nga dun sa movie na ni Tom Hanks, life is
like a box
of chocolate.
You don't know what you're gonna get.
Yan.
And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
And happy Valentine's Day po sa inyong lahat. Join us again on Monday. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.